Hey everybody, Jamman025 here. This is part 2 at the look at my RX-78-2 Diorama, The Final Shot. This recreates the final shot of the Battle of Abawaku at the end of the series Mobile Suit Gundam and the movies. Now, last time I looked primarily at the base. This time I'm primarily looking at the Gundam. First thing that's got to go is the head. The head is blown off in the Battle of Abawaku. We got a ball joint there. That's got to go too, but I'll take care of that in a bit. The other thing that is missing is the entire left arm is blown off before the final shot. I wanted to keep like some scraps of it, but looking back at the final series, both the arm and the head are blown off well before that final shot takes place. So they're just gone from the situation. There are no rubble of it around. As I mentioned earlier, I did not like the backpack on this kit or the color, so I repainted it in a aluminum for the internal, and the outside is just a dark gray. I think that looks a little better in my opinion. And I didn't like the color on the gun either, so I repainted that in gunmetal. It's kind of funny repainting these just so I can trash them, but hey, that's modeling. Left the yellow alone, primarily because I'm going to be damaging that. So I didn't see a whole much to. See here, I cut some slots into the barrel of the gun. This is to expand it for the laser, which I'm going to be putting in there later, and I'll show you that in a bit. To do that, I just used a hobby saw here, just to cut a few slots in so I can make it a little easier. Next, damaging the Gundam. Basically, I decided to just trash this thing up. Put some gashes in it, cuts in it, scrapes, roughed it up, chopped pieces off. Did all sorts of crazy things with this kit because the final shot isn't so much a battle damages, it is nearly crippled. The Gundam is moving just barely. So I just wanted to make this thing look like it was being held together by duct tape and glue. Gashes, cuts, chipped off parts here. Really roughed this guy up. You see a big old gash there. You can see part of the internal frame underneath. Take a little bit off the back skirt armor, and I do some more later. Rough up some more there. Now to do this, I used a few different tools. First up, I used this rotor tool here. This is mainly to rough up the surface and make it look, scraped up and rough and uneven. Doesn't do much for cutting. Use some nippers to cut away some parts, especially on the skirt armor here and on the arm. Used a hobby saw to cut away some of the thicker pieces, like the internal frame on the arm and some pieces on the neck. Now, hobby saw is needed when you get those much thicker plastic pieces. And some hobby files for the cuts, the scrapes, gashes marks. Next thing I did is I burned this guy. I really burnt him up. Burn marks on the arm. I melted some of the plastic on the side of the kit. Melted some skirt armor. Blackened it up real good. That gash mark in the leg is even bigger now. It melted away a little bit, and you can see the internal frame. Again, more gash marks on the back. It's kind of opened up and melted. Looked like a real explosion took place, sort of. See some burn marks on the feet. Wanted them to be a little more roughed up. The right arm I didn't do too much to. A little bit of damage, but not much, and I'll show you why in a bit. More gash marks. I melted the heck out of the neck because I really wanted the explosion look. And you may be asking what I mean by belting. Well, I literally mean hold it over a fire. Had a candle here and just held it over, held different pieces over, blackened it up. I leave it over a little bit longer to melt. I also took a paper clip, straightened it out, used an end. You get that nice and hot, and then you lay it on to create nice slash marks. Or if you just heat up one end and poke it, it kind of creates a bullet effect. And I didn't use too many bullet marks on here. But the gash mark, and I use the candle a lot to heat things up and melt some plastic. Next step, paint. Add some silver to give this a metal look. Remember, this is not supposed to be plastic, it's supposed to be metal. Again, the right arm, this is the one thing that's still functioning pretty well on the Gundam at this time, so I left that alone for the most part. On the left side of the Gundam, I went to town with the paints, blacks, grays, all sorts, because I figured if the left arm exploded, you would see a whole lot of secondary damage. Burn marks, slash marks, gash marks. You can see it is pretty glossy. Once one has it when you use all these paints, it gets pretty glossy with all that paint on there, so a flat top coat is absolutely necessary when doing this. But, lots of silver, lots of smoke gray, lots of natto black, lots and lots of work put in it. I really wanted to look like the left side was in really, really bad shape, while the right side wasn't that bad. And you can see it's starting to come together, but we got to add a little bit more detail. Next, I have different lengths of wire. Futurama reference there. Anyway, 3 different kinds of wire I'm going to use, plug into different places in here on the arms and the neck. Cut them up, bend them as such, glue them in there, you can see on the arm. 3 different cables coming out there, and you see those little wires coming out up the top, these gold wires. All that is a very tiny, if I can get it, there it is, paper clip. Chop that up, bend it up, and then coat it with a top coat of clear green, a clear yellow, pardon me, and it gives that gold, kind of a, not so much a piece of metal, but as a spark. Because in the final shot, you see little sparks flying out of the arm and in the neck. And it's starting to come together again. One thing I noticed, the balance wasn't that great, mainly because I didn't have any place to put the feet originally. So I took these aluminum rods, drove them into the foot, drilled a couple of holes till I hit that wooden base that I put underneath, and slide him right in there. He's not falling over, no problem now. Any balance issue is gone and done with. And we're starting to come together. But the next problem was the one thing I wasn't sure how to do, the laser beam. I tried a couple of prototypes, didn't work out too well, so I went to my backup plan, which I had from the beginning, was to repaint a piece of beam saber. This is actually off the Full Armor Unicorn, because I figured I'd never be using the beam sabers on that beast, and repainted that with a clear red to give that effect. That little explosion at the bottom you see there, all that is a piece of clear red wrapping paper, which I just stuffed in there and then put the beam saber on top. That's why those slots are in there, to make a little bit extra room. Now, the thing I had in mind from the get-go with this thing was this case here. I wanted this to be part of the kit. How I did that? Well, I actually have the final shot shooting through the case that I got. This is just plexiglass. I drilled a hole through the top of the case, and then I set that on fire a little bit, melting it a little bit, giving it that burn mark. That's, again, just with the candle. Holding it over, getting it just right. Lining it up wasn't easy, but I got it. And I am very happy with the results. When I started this project, I had the idea in mind to have the Gundam shooting through the top of the case to kind of make the case part of the kit, as opposed to just an add-on at the end. So he's kind of breaking the fourth wall. Is there a fourth wall in model kits? Anyway, the point is, I'm very happy with the way this turned out. After the top coat and everything nice and flat, looks real good. I'm happy with it. Final thoughts on this kit. I'm personally going to give myself a thumbs up. I'm very happy with the way this turned out. When I look back at my original diorama with the GM and the Zaku, when I look back at it, I said, man, if I'd only done this, if I'd only fixed this. That's kind of the reason I wanted to do this diorama. First time taught me some lessons. I figured the second time around, I'll get a lot more right, and I think I did. This turned out really, really well. I'm very happy with it. This is one of my favorite projects I've done to date. Well, gang, you heard what I thought. Tell me what you think. Leave me a comment down below. Tell me how you think I did. If you got any questions, ask them. I will answer them as best I can. Please stay tuned for more. Always got more reviews coming. And thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. See you next time, guys. Oh, and one more thing. Alas, poor Yurik. I knew him well. And he still owes me $5.